Sometimes I'm afraid we don't do enough basic tech on this channel. You know, stuff for guys that are just trying to learn the engines and the systems and the parts and how they all interrelate. So I want to do that now. I'm going to do the most basic video, the most universal video I think we've ever done. The oil pump. Now, almost, and you have to excuse if you get any noise or anything in the background. We have both the Junkyard Jet guys and Mopar Al are all working on their respective projects. So that's why we've been banished to this part of the shop. So the oil pump, right? It's the most basic and universal part of every engine, unless you're with two strokes. And the vast majority of oil pumps, at least on the engines that we're going to deal with, are of the gerotor variety. Buick's like an exception. There's a couple of exceptions, but Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, the typical engines that we would deal with on this channel, all use a gerotor type pump. Now, let's talk about the word gerotor. You would think that it's a combination of gear and rotor. So if we look inside of one of these things, pop the cover off this. You could say that this is the gear and this is the rotor. But in reality, they're both rotors. So the name gerotor just basically means a dual rotor pump. These things are very simple, very basic, almost completely foolproof. And we'll get to the things that will foul them up a little bit later on in the video. But first, let's talk about how they work. So if you look inside the pump, you'll see these two cavities. This is the feed cavity, so this is where the strainer would screw in and pick up oil from the pan. And this is the pressure cavity, and this leads to the engine, or the oil passages in the engine. Actually, it goes to the filter first, and then to the engine. And that's another important thing we'll talk about towards the end of the video. So the way this works is that as the engine is running, you've got the oil pump drive shaft spinning. And what happens is, see, the gap is closed here. As this part of the rotor passes the cavity, the feed cavity, it opens. And as it's opening, it's creating a vacuum that's pulling oil up through the strainer and into the cavity. Now it gets transferred to the pressure side. And as it comes to the pressure side, you see the lobe starting to close into its space. And at that point, whatever oil was held in that cavity is being forced into the engine. And that is how it works. It's just constant picking up from this side, transferring it, and squeezing it into the engine. That's it. The other important moving part inside the oil pump is the bypass. Inside of here is a spring-loaded valve. You can see it right here. Now, as oil pressure reaches a predetermined point in the high-pressure cavity, let's just say the designer or the engineer wants a maximum of 50 psi out of this oil pump. There's a spring rated to allow this valve to open at 50 psi. And that allows the oil pressure from the high-pressure side to bleed over to the low-pressure side. So when you're revving your engine and the oil pressure reaches its maximum, the needle won't go any further, it's because at that point the bypass is open and allowing that bleed off. That's it. That's all there is to a basic automotive oil pump. So now you get into high performance pumps. You get into high volume, high pressure pumps. So here, there's the rotor assembly from a standard small block Mopar pump. And here's one from a high volume pump. And you can see the difference in size. It's not a big difference in size, but it's enough to increase the volume of the engine. When would you want to use a pump like this, a high volume pump? A worn engine, something that has big internal clearances, something that's got 200, 300,000 miles on it, with like no idling oil pressure, no down the road oil pressure. Well, if you swap to a higher volume pump, the extra volume of oil being shoved through will make up for those larger clearances. And it's the same thing when you build a high-performance engine. The higher the performance of the engine, generally the looser the clearances inside, bigger bearing clearances. And so it bleeds internally. So you would want to use a higher volume pump to make up for that. Now when you talk about pressure, a high volume pump will increase the pressure, but not the maximum pressure. So you could put a standard high volume pump, replacement pump, into an engine, and instead of getting, let's say, 5 psi at idle, you'll get 15 psi at idle, but the maximum will still stay at about 60 because there's still the bypass to contend with in the high volume pump. Now a high volume, high pressure pump, which is what you'd use in a hot rod engine, has the bigger rotors, but it also has a stiffer spring in the bypass. So instead of opening at 50 psi, it'll open at 70, 80, 90, it just depends on the application. On this type of pump, the bypass spring is held, okay, they put this little cotter pin on all of these as like a safety, so that if the pressure got too high, it won't blow this plug out and allow the spring to come out. And that's why all of these pumps have a little cotter pin there. But behind that is a core plug, and behind the core plug is the spring. Now on some engines, especially external mount engines, like or external oil pump mount engines, like the big block Chrysler, for example, or the Slant 6, instead of having a core plug and a safety, they'll have a screw-in plug, and you can actually take the spring out and replace it with a higher value spring, or shim the spring, put something behind it like a nut or a thin bolt, and that'll raise the overall pressure that you'll see out of the engine. But that's how it's regulated. A high performance oil pump, a high volume, high pressure oil pump, will have thicker rotors and a heavier spring in the bypass, and that's the difference between them. So now we get to oil pump problems. When does an oil pump go bad? Because they are the best lubricated part inside the whole engine. You know, they're constantly bathed in oil, but they don't have the advantage of being filtered. The oil that comes into the pump is dictated just by what's in the oil pan. So if you've got a lot of dirt, grit, stuff in the pan, it will get sucked through the pump before it goes through the filter. So the filter will protect the bearings, it'll protect the internal surfaces inside the engine, but it doesn't do anything for a pump. So here's a pump that came from an engine that ate a camshaft. This thing, after the engine was run, would only manage about 5 psi and max out at about 30 psi. And that's because the internal clearances inside this pump, especially this relationship right here, between the two rotors, got sloppy. So instead of compressing the oil to go into the engine, it was allowing the oil to bleed from one passage to the other. And that limited its the amount of oil that it could send. So you could see in this pump right here, where there's all of these marks where the grit was dragged around, and the rotor assemblies are all chewed up. And all it takes is a couple of thousandths of an inch. Now there's also another way that an oil pump can fail, and that's with a stuck bypass. And that will happen pretty much the same way, let's say with a bad camshaft, with the things that chew up the rotors. Well, you can get grit in that bypass, because it's a cylinder, it's a very finely finished cylinder. It has to move smoothly back and forth, and if you get grit in there, the bypass will hang open or it won't close completely, and then your maximum oil pressure will drop drastically. Now a telltale sign to know if your bypass is stuck is you'll start the engine and the oil pressure gauge won't move. It'll just sit there at 0. And if you give it some gas, the oil pressure will jump up to like 20 psi, and as soon as you let off the gas, it'll fall right back down to 0 again. And that's a telltale sign that the bypass is stuck inside the pump. But again, like I said, the relationship between these parts is so tight, like 1,000th, 2,000ths of an inch, and you know, it's a useless pump. So it's a good idea anytime you're inside your engine, at the very least, pop the cover off the pump and eyeball the parts inside of it to make sure that they're smooth, that they're not chewed up, that there's no grit or anything like that in there. Very, very important. When they blueprint a pump, when your pump is said to be blueprinted, it means that basically all of these sharp edges inside have been broken down to allow the oil to flow smoothly from one passage to the other. But there's really not much else you can do to these things. Now, the only other thing I want to talk about is the old wives' tale about packing the pump full of grease or Vaseline before you put it in the engine. That's not a good idea. It's absolutely, totally not necessary. These pumps are designed to hold an oil film inside of it indefinitely. So you could, let's say, find an engine that's been sitting for 50 years, 75 years, and if the oil pump hasn't been disturbed, there'll still be a film of oil inside the pump that'll create those seals needed for suction. When you take a new one out of the box, or in all likelihood, there's enough of a film from its assembly, there's enough of a film of oil inside the pump to create the suction and get everything moving. When you pack one of these things full of grease or Vaseline or anything like that, you're doing two things. First, you're putting a tremendous amount of strain on the oil pump drive shaft, which is like super critical, especially on Fords, because they're a very fragile thing. You're putting, because it doesn't, well, the rotors don't want to compress that hunk of grease or that white lube or anything else, Vaseline, whatever you're putting in there. The rotors don't want to compress that, so you're putting a huge amount of stress on the drive shaft end of it. And also, you're sending a slug of whatever it is that you put in there through the engine into a place where it doesn't belong. So the only thing you want to do when you take a new pump out of the box, all you want to do is just on the inlet side of it, the part that the strainer would screw into, just a couple of drops of motor oil or assembly lube, whatever you happen to be using, just a couple of drops in there. Then take your oil pump drive shaft or an Allen key or whatever it happens to be and just rotate it around a couple of times. The only thing you have to do is just coat the basic surfaces with a very small film of oil, and that's it. That's all you need. You got vacuum and pressure right off the bat. So that's it. I mean, oil pump basics. I really can't. Oh, the strainer. Yeah, that's one of the. Here, this one. Now I pulled this one. This is one out of here. This is the kind of stuff that just comes out of a strainer. So all I did with this thing was I soaked it in some deep purple for a couple of hours, and this is the stuff that was inside this strainer. Now it's generally held in place by gack and whatnot that builds up over the years, but when you clean these things out, this stuff will break loose. And over time, as the engine's running, all of these little particles and whatnot will find their way through that screen into the pump and into those rotor assemblies. So you absolutely, if you're starting from scratch, you want to either use a brand new strainer or make sure you've done like I did with this one, soak it in something like deep purple, break up whatever heavy grease is inside of it, and then keep tapping it and working it until you get all of that stuff out. But I mean, they're cheap. If you can get one for your engine, just do it. They're like $18 or $20. Definitely worth the insurance. Also, one other thing. Oil pump gaskets. When you buy a new oil pump, it's going to come with a gasket that goes between the pump and the main cap or whatever. This is for internal pumps, not external pumps. But if you've got an internal pump, they'll come with a gasket. Now, if you notice, when you take an engine apart, most of them, not all of them, but most of them don't have a gasket. Take note of your engine when you took it apart. If when you pulled it apart there was no gasket between the pump and the main cap, don't use the gasket that comes in the kit. If your engine did have a gasket there, then go ahead and replace that gasket. But if it didn't have one, they're intended on these small block Mopars, there's no gasket there from the factory. You take it apart and it's just metal to metal. So external pumps always have a gasket. Internal pumps don't always have a gasket. So that's it. I think I covered it all. I hope you got something out of that, and I'll see you tomorrow.